Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Speakers for Schools broadcast. We are really happy that you have been able to join us today. So, hello and good morning. This session is going to last for around 45 minutes, and we will include an interview panel with our speakers before later moving on to a student Q&A. Questions for our speakers can be submitted via the Q&A function underneath the stream on your screen. You might have to scroll down a little bit to see this, and it will be open throughout the broadcast. So we do encourage you to submit questions in response to anything said today, as we would love to hear from you. If you are experiencing any issues, please do let us know via the Q&A box, and we'll try our best to support you. Today, we're going to be talking about the UK film industry. The UK film industry is a global powerhouse, contributing billions to the economy and supporting over 100,000 jobs across production, distribution, and exhibition. Streaming services, technological advancements, and new sustainability initiatives are shaping the future, creating exciting opportunities for the next generation of talent. But breaking into the industry can still feel like a challenge. So today we have a lovely panel with us. We have a panel of experts, and they are here to share their insights, advice, and predictions for the future of screen careers. So first, I'm going to pass over to Claire for an introduction of Into Film.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you can all hear me okay. Really pleased to be here with you today. I'm so thrilled that you can join us for this broadcast with Speakers for Schools celebrating National Careers Week. Also want to say thanks to Screen Alliance North, our partners, for putting us in touch with the trainees who you're going to speak to today. So as I say, my name's Claire, I'm from Interfilm, and if you're wondering what Interfilm is or who we are and what we do, we are the UK's leading charity for film in education and the community. So what that means is we've got a big Screen Careers programme offering Screen Careers information and advice about getting into the industry and lots of exciting activities and events. We've got a big filmmaking programme where we support young filmmakers and young people getting started with filmmaking. And we've also got a programme called Film for Learning, which is all about using film within the curriculum to support curriculum learning, watching films in the classroom, making films to support your curriculum subjects, and getting involved in lots of interesting things using film. So that's a little bit about what Interfilm does. And today is part of our Screen Careers programme. And as Nick says, and thanks for the intro, Nick, we are going to be kind of demystifying the screen industry a bit by hearing a little bit from some special guests who work in the industry behind the scenes. So they're going to give you a bit of an insight about the reality of working within the industry, what it's like every day on a day-to-day basis, being on set or being on location. So you can have a bit of a think about whether a career in the screen industry is something that you want to get involved with. If you're still unsure, do take a look at the information on our website as well, because even if these particular roles don't sound like something that you're interested in pursuing, there are hundreds of roles in the screen industries. As Nick mentioned, it's a broad industry. No matter of your skills, your interests, or the things which you are taking forward and that you're studying, your subjects, there will be a role that you could take part in. So if you're studying maths or science, you could be looking at visual effects, or if you are perhaps going off to do a carpentry apprenticeship, you could maybe go and help build the sets. There are so many roles that you can have a think and a look into as well. So you could have a look if you're interested at our social media sites, which are called the GIF sites, Get Into Film. They are on Instagram and TikTok. Both of them have got content from industry professionals, young content creators that are submitting content about their kind of getting started within the industry. And we've also got our link tree, which has job opportunities and work experience opportunities as well. So definitely take a look at that. We've also got our Wicked Futures quiz. So before Christmas, we teamed up with the people that made the film Wicked, the Oscar-winning film. And we've put together a quiz which looks at which department within the screen industries could be good for you to work in if you're interested. So it helps you to kind of hone down on the things that you're interested in and where that fits within the production of a film. So really exciting. Do take a look at that. That's on our website. We've got a media careers podcast, so you can have a listen to that to get some more information about careers within the media. And then educators that are out there listening, do have a look at our careers page on our website. Got lots and lots of information about all of the rest of our Screen Careers programme, teacher training, activities and events which are going on. Lots and lots for you to get involved with. So hopefully you can either get in touch with us via Speakers for Schools or have a look on our website, interfilm.org, to find all of those things that I've mentioned. But yeah, really, really excited for you to take part in today. I'm sure you're going to find the talk with the panel really interesting and insightful, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'll hand back to Nick. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Claire. That was a really nice introduction. Hopefully, lots of things there for students to be checking out. Great. Okay. Well, before we start, I would just like to ask you all to introduce yourselves very quickly. So I'm going to say thank you to Anna, Jade, Eve and Claire for joining us today. Just before we start with the interview questions, if you would all like to just quickly introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about yourselves.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Jade. I'm a camera trainee. I work in features, high-end TV and commercials, and some of my credits include the BBC Three show Smoggy Queens, CBBC The Dumping Ground, and more recently I've got a feature film that's actually came out on Friday in cinemas called Last Breath, which is really exciting.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna. I'm based in Belfast in Northern Ireland, but I'm actually from a teeny tiny village in the north coast of Northern Ireland. And I worked as an assistant director on a range of film and TV projects in Belfast and Northern Ireland and also internationally. And I've worked on projects like Millie in Between, Pickle Storm, Game of Thrones and The School for Good and Evil as well.
Hi everyone, my name's Eve. I'm based in Manchester and I've worked on shows such as Waterloo Road, Big Brother, RuPaul's Drag Race, and most recently I've been working on a new Netflix show.
Amazing, thank you. Thanks a lot for that. Claire, did you want to give a little introduction as well? I know you mentioned before.
Can do. So my role is slightly different. I'm not working directly in the screen industries. I work for Interfilm. I'm the program lead for Interfilm, which means that I oversee the program which is being delivered across England. And my role is to try and get as many schools and young people and educators engaging with our program and taking part in events that we've got going on. So yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for that. Okay, perfect. We will now start with our interview questions. And once they're completed, we can move on to the student submitted live Q&A questions. Okay, so I will start with the questions. Just kind of generally, if a student wanted to work in film or TV, but doesn't quite know where to start, what would be your first piece of advice?
Yeah, for me, I think that if you're not too sure where to start, reach out to your local film office. Usually in the film office, they'll have a mailing list for jobs, and a lot of them are entry level, so it's great to apply for those. And more so with location marshalling. So for me personally, that's how I started out. So I did a lot of location marshalling, which is a really great way to be on set, kind of see what it's all about, network, see what kind of departments you like and what you're really interested in, and kind of really go from there.
Great, thanks, Jade. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
I also think that there's so many amazing resources online. There's Interfilm Screen Skills also have a really great resource where you can check on a job role and you can see actually the requirements that kind of fit that job role and if your skills and qualities and things that you're interested in are within that. But there's so many different jobs in the screen industries that truly until you get to step foot on a set that you won't realize are jobs. There is the grip department that are in charge of everything that the camera goes on top of, and there's development trying to build projects from concept the whole way through to production. There's also so many jobs in post-production, and there's just so many opportunities. So I think really doing your research to try and see where you think your fit might be, and then not being scared to change. You might start in one role and realize that actually what you really want to do is another role, and just being open to that, to the opportunities that are there, because there's so many opportunities.
I would also definitely say use programs and socials such as LinkedIn and Instagram. They can be very useful sources for connecting with people. You can even look at the credits on a TV show and look at the names and try and connect with those people as well. It's really good to build an online brand for yourself. I would also definitely say have some sort of show reel, even if you've not worked in a professional capacity before. If you put together a show reel, it's already showing your employer that you're interested and you're passionate about what you're trying to do. And I'd also definitely say, as soon as you are able to get your driver's license and get driving, because nearly every single role in TV and film, unfortunately, does require you to drive to these quite obscure locations. And I've met some really great friends who are runners, who are location marshals, which are very much like the best entry level ways to like get your foot in the door. And some of them have missed out on really great opportunities because they haven't had their driver's license. So as soon as you can learn to drive, I 100% recommend doing that.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's really good points that I would never have thought of. So hopefully that's been really insightful for the students listening. Amazing. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. So with the rise of streaming platforms, how do you see career opportunities shifting in the film and TV industry?
Yeah, I think a lot of streaming platforms, like you say, are on the rise now, and I mean it's good because it's kind of more jobs are coming up. Personally, like I've been in the industry for a few years now, and I've seen like a lot of job boards posting for various new jobs. Yeah, I think there's nothing really different in the way you'd apply for them and go about them. It's more just kind of like being online and as Eve mentioned before on IMDb, you can still kind of post like those jobs on there. So it's really good to kind of reach out to crew members and things like that to get placements on set.
I think that the streaming platforms are also creating a shift in terms of some of the content that we have and the content that we will have. It's meaning that there's lots more content, so it's giving lots of opportunities. It's also in terms of the nations and regions, giving more opportunity for filming in those areas. So I think that where the industry might have used to have felt a little more London centric, definitely at the moment, if you're based in the nations and regions, there's more opportunity there. And I think as things continue to shift, there's definitely a moment of change in terms of how things are being funded and financed because of that. But actually, ultimately, we are in a creative industry that will continue to grow. And as creatives within that industry, we just have to continue to grow with that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything Jade and Anna have said. With the content that we view changing so much, it's almost like the budgets are getting bigger, the scales are getting bigger, which is good for us because it means that there's more crew that are required to make these amazing TV shows. That some of these shows that are coming out nowadays are like feature films within episodes. The budgets are insane. And what's amazing as well is that there has been and there is going to be a boost within the UK film industry. A lot of studios are being built in the UK right now. There's a lot of locations in Manchester, for example. If anyone's familiar with the Northern Quarter, that is always getting transformed into New York because the architecture is very similar. So there's lots of ways that we can cheat parts of the UK to be other places in the world, which is just great because it means that companies such as Netflix and Amazon and all these massive streamers are bringing their content over here. So it does create more jobs for us. So they are definitely having an impact for sure.
Yeah, I think as well, like just kind of carrying on from what you said, it's really great seeing more studios pop up. I think for me as well, because I'm northern, I'm based near Newcastle. There's a really exciting news that Sunderland's having a huge studio built. It's coming in 2028, and a lot of American production companies are coming over and taking over with that. People who made like Keeping Up with Kardashians, Late Show, like there's a whole range of stuff. So that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for people who are northern based.
I think as well, though, it's important to remember that we have really, really amazing creative talent from where we're all from. And actually, while the big studios are amazing because they employ so many people, there are also really great smaller productions from BBC, Channel 4, a lot of the more local broadcasters to us. And it means that there's a real surplus of jobs, and sometimes the bigger jobs are harder to get onto. And I started on like a CBBC show, which was incredible learning. And I think that it's remembering that there's also the big jobs, and it might feel sometimes like those are the only jobs, but there's lots and lots of other jobs there. And sometimes the amazing thing about a big job is that it comes in and takes a lot of the crew, which means that there's smaller jobs that are looking for crew that need people who are looking for more experience to learn. So it's great because there's a balance of both at the minute in the industry in the UK, which is really, really exciting.
Definitely.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all of your comments there. Great. On to the next question then. Sustainability is a key issue today. How do you think that screen industries are adapting to be more eco-friendly?
So I actually spoke to the sustainability coordinator on set about this because I knew that was a point we were going to raise. I think it's so important that all of us, even in a little capacity, can make these differerences. For example, if I know I just said about driving, but if there are opportunities when you can take public transport, the productions advise you to do it. In the sound department, for example, we use AA batteries for pretty much everything to power every device, and we only use rechargeable batteries now. A lot of productions have banned using disposable batteries because it is so wasteful, and we go through so many of them. The Sparks, which is the lighting department, only now use LED lights. They used to use tungsten lights, which would cost a lot more in energy and electricity. And action vehicles, which are the cars that you will see in the film or in the TV series sometimes. A lot of the action vehicles that are now used are electric. That never used to be the case, which also from the sound department is great because they make less noise. So yeah, there are a few points that I think the industry's done really well to make change because, like I said, there never used to be rules about rechargeable batteries, and now there are. And yeah, I think that there's definitely been a change or a shift into people are more conscious of being sustainable now. And I think if it's on everybody's collective consciousness, then we will make the difference.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Eve. I mean, especially with with my roles on set, I've definitely seen a more digital work approach. So less kind of printing out and more kind of sharing documents and paperwork on places like Google Drive or say like Dropbox and things. I mean, specifically with camera department, we do print quite a lot of stuff. So like having refillable ink cartridges and things like that, and also especially like trying to reduce waste. So a lot of crews on set are encouraged to bring like refillable water bottles and coffee cups and things like that.
And I think it's also been really interesting recently to see more sustainable practices brought into story terms. So where people are recycling on screen, using reusable water bottles and coffee cups, not using single-use plastics. And so where in some projects, sustainability is a central and very much a core thing that they're trying to talk about and engage with. Also, it's just becoming something that on screen is becoming part of everyday practice. So it's encouraging people to think about that in a more accessible way as well. So it's behind the camera and in front of the camera, and it's just all a part of the conversation now, which we know is such an important conversation to be having.
Amazing. Thank you all for your input on that one. Very important topic. Moving on then to our next question, which is, what impact do you think AI and virtual production will have on filmmaking and careers in the industry?
Yeah, I think it's having a massive impact. I mean, recently I've been down to London and I studied at Final Pixel Academy for one of their workshops. And virtual production is going to play a massive role in the future. And kind of more productions, say like interactive gameplay and things like that. So it's trying to kind of research new technologies because it's still very, very new. And what it is, it's the gaming industry combining with like film, TV. So yeah, I think it's still new, but it's definitely going to take off in the future. And it's working with softwares like Unreal Engine and things like that. I'm seeing a lot of now. But yeah, I think it's exciting, but also, it's quite concerning also in terms of AI, because especially with like camera departments and things like that, we like to work with technology. We're very hands-on, and I think it's very much like we are going into the unknown, but it is really positive to see that virtual production is going to be bringing in a lot of new business in the industry.
Anna, sorry, were you gonna?
You go first.
Yeah, I agree with what Jade has said. It is definitely a combination of gaming and film and TV. More on the AI side, especially as the Oscars have just been this week. When I was on set yesterday, I was talking with the director and the sound mixer about Adrian Brody's Oscar win. Obviously, there's been a lot of debate about that, as AI has been used to enhance his voice and his accent. So there's been a lot of discourse about, well, did he deserve the Oscar because was it 100% his true performance? Has it been altered with AI? And I think there's going to be lots more discussions like this in the future. I think this is very much the tip of the iceberg. And I think it's important for us as an industry as a whole to embrace the change, but not take away the creativity from the people, because at the end of the day, the AI can't create the stories, it can't get the performances out of the actors. There's so many factors that come into play when discussing AI and film. But I think it's, like I said, it's really important for us as an industry wide to find a balance between using and embracing the AI and the technology when we can to enhance the viewing, but also not letting it overtake the story and people's jobs and people's livelihoods. And the industry is it's been around for over 100 years now. There's been so many changes to the industry. I don't think people are shocked when new things pop up like this, but I think it's just very important to remember the balance and keep these conversations in the forefront of our minds, because it can be quite scary as well. So,
and I think we have just had, and it hasn't officially opened yet, but we've got a virtual production stage which has been built in Belfast, and it's incredibly exciting, but it's also new technology which a lot of the crew aren't familiar with. And we've had the first production go in, and a lot of people are talking about how it's very, very similar to being on set on any location, but there is a whole interface that has to run behind that, which also means that for certain productions it's too expensive, so that it can't be used for that. But also for us, at least in Northern Ireland, that our locations and what we can offer as an opportunity for filming is one of our assets. So it's trying to find the balance of knowing that it's a really, really great opportunity, and there are productions that it fits very well within, but also that there will continue to be the opportunities for location filming and all of the things that we're very, very used to. And I think it's about trying to remember that we're hopefully as a crew and as a collective, we're all supporting each other through that and having the conversations about how it might be impacting some roles more than others and how we have to continue to evolve with that, just as Eve had said.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for answering that question. On to the next one then. If you had to start over in a completely different role in the screen industries, what would you do?
So for me, definitely being an on-set photographer. You still get to work with cameras, but then also you're kind of like still in the thick of it. You're still amongst all the action. So yeah, that's definitely an exciting role that I probably would have gone into.
I think for me, I have a few different things because there was roles that I didn't know about until I started in the industry, and I've loved working as an assistant director, and I've now moved into producing more, which is really, really exciting and is actually completely what I want to do. But the Sparks department and the director of photography, the way in which they like the vision that they bring and how they use light and manipulate light to make things look so good is just like, I think whenever you're watching content, you don't realize the level of detail that goes into that. So I think Sparks is super interesting. And there's also, it's a more male dominated department. So I think getting more female into that department is amazing. And also the grip department, who are the people that do everything that we put the camera on top of, because they just get to use some really cool rigs. They can use like rickshaws and sliders and all of these and big like techno cranes. Like the stuff that they use is just really, really cool. And again, there's not as many female grips. So I just think as a woman in that department, you would get to do so many, many cool things. You do also have to be super strong. But I just think those two departments are things that I didn't know before I started working in the industry. And then I was like, whoa, that is very cool.
It's funny that you say that, Anna, because on the Netflix job that I'm working on, this is the first time I've seen women grips and women sparks. And I just think it's the coolest thing ever because it's not an easy job. It's very physical. It's, you're battling the elements. You're outside all day most of the time. And I just thought seeing women in those roles, I was like, I love this. But in terms of what I would, if I wasn't in the sound department, I do love the editorial and the storytelling side as well. So there is a role on set called the script supervisor. So again, I didn't know this existed before working in the industry, but the script supervisor will sit with the director and the producers. And I actually have a little script here to show you, not to show it too closely, but the script will be in front of them with all these dialogue, and they will have a set of headphones on that the sound department will give to them, and they are there listening to what is the scene in front of them and making sure that they are staying true to the script. If the actor forgets their line and they go, oh, what was that line? It's the script supervisor who shouts out, it's this. So yeah, they are involved in, I guess it's less editorial and it's more continuity. It's more making sure if they picked up that mug with their right hand in the wide shot, when they go and do the close up, that they're still picking it up in their right hand, because viewers notice those sort of little things. So I think that I'd love to be a script supervisor, or if I was more in like the pre-production, the editorial side, a script assistant, a script editor, anything that sort of is involved in the storytelling aspect, I find really interesting. So yeah.
Amazing. Claire, do you have anything to add to that question?
No, not really. I mean, only that I think this was sort of maybe mentioned earlier on in the discussion, but if you are, interested in moving into the screen industries, I would just start by making films on your phone or on your tablets. And I think, so my background was in performance as an actor. And I think, now if you want to be an actor, you probably also need to be doing some writing, some directing, making your own stuff as well. So you've got content to kind of back up what you're doing. So I think not so much if I were to do something slightly different, but for an actor, or if I was going to try and do something again in the screen industries, I'd probably look at some production or some writing or directing as well.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And thanks everyone for your input there. We are now going to move on to some live submitted questions. So that was all of the interview questions, just wary of time as well. Would like to give the students watching a chance to kind of interact with some questions as well. So we've got Truro and Penwith College watching. So hello guys, hope you're enjoying. They have a question, a couple of questions actually. So their first question is having a LinkedIn profile important? I know you guys have touched on this. So yeah, anything further on that?
I think personally, it really depends how you use the profile. I probably had an account that sat there for a year, and I didn't upload. I didn't keep it up to date with what I was doing, and it didn't serve me any. Didn't help me at all. But when I started to, as Claire mentioned, if you self-shoot, if you make your own content, it's just if you just post it on LinkedIn, even the more people you connect with and see how the sort of posts the people in your industry or the industry you want to enter, the way that they do their posts, it's a really good way to frame your own. It doesn't have to be a massive essay that you write. It can be bullet points. It can be a few photos behind the scenes of a shoot you might have done. It really depends how you use your LinkedIn. And again, you can add links to other, IMDb, Letterboxd, Instagram, to all these other socials that can then again just build your brand and build a personal identity for you. So yeah, I do think it's important, but I think posting regularly on it is also key in making sure that your connections can see what you're doing and see what you're up to. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think as what Eve was saying as well, for me it's like a professional Instagram. That's how kind of like I use it. So yeah, just a kind of like professional kind of Instagram. So you have your whole network in there. And with a lot of jobs that I've been on, it's always kind of like, oh, can I have your LinkedIn? So we can like stay in touch. So it's kind of, I use it more not really for like portfolio, but just to keep in touch with people. But I would probably say that I do use Instagram more for work. But yeah, it's a nice add-on to have. But I would say Instagram's probably like the most the biggest app I use.
Yeah.
Amazing, cool. Thank you so much for that. Another question then, is there a common skills gap that needs to be filled in the industry as it evolves?
I actually do think there is one here. The props department, the standby props, I've was actually having a conversation with someone on set about this. We call them chippies, which they'll help with the on-set building, the woodwork, the practical builds that need to happen on set. When I started my traineeship on Waterloo Road last year, they really struggled to find a props trainee, because there weren't as many people as interested in the woodwork and the building and that sort of side. This is only, like I said, this is from my experience. I can't speak nationwide, but from what I've heard, there was a little bit of a skills gap in Manchester anyway, of people wanting to do the woodwork and the chippy work. So I'd say that was one, and it's 100% a really, really important role on set. We were literally just saying about digital technology. Nothing beats practical sets, in my opinion. So we definitely need more of them, and we need to keep that part of the industry alive because it's so important.
And I think as well, it's really interesting that you say that as well, Eve, because as the virtual production stages grow, there will still be physical sets within those stages. So for The Mandalorian, yes, they had a big screen, but they also had to have the physical sets that go within that screen. So it's about integration. And I think possibly part of the skills gap at the moment is actually educating the current crew so that they know how to integrate with the new technology, and then also bringing through new crew who understand how all of the technology run and can kind of do all of the behind the scenes to maintain that. So it's a very, very exciting time, I think, for trying to get into the industry, because there's so many opportunities. And what we rely on within the industry is for all the new talent coming through to also educate the talent that's already there, so that we can work together to kind of continue to grow everyone's skills.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Moving on to the next question then, might kind of be a bit of a follow-up. Do you need any specific qualifications to get work experience? And you mentioned some places that you can find these before, but also where would you start to look for entry-level routes and positions?
Yeah, sorry. I think more towards, if you're wanting to go into specifically the camera department, I think it's a really great thing to reach out to local kit houses. That's how I started. So I reached out to a company called Focus Canning, their northern branch based in Byker in Newcastle, and it was really great for me to get my skills there, because being a camera trainee, you're kind of working a lot with like monitoring procedures. You're working with a lot of kit. It is really helpful to know how to like use the kit and like how it works. So for me, I would prep a lot of camera packages for TV shows, feature films, commercials, really kind of understanding, like why they're using this lens, and kind of what's kind of the difference between this piece of kit and this piece of kit. So I think that it's really great. And part of doing that as well, you get to meet a whole like network, because obviously clients are coming in wanting to take the kit out, so you get to meet a load of new people. But I wouldn't say that like college and going to uni is essential at all. I mean, for me personally, the things I've gained from that is more kind of like people skills and working on communication. But really, in terms of like the screen industries, I think I mentioned before about like reaching out to film offices and different trainee schemes. So I think screen skills was mentioned as well, and I'm actually on this year's cohort for camera, which has been brilliant, because I've got to meet a lot of crew and got on a lot of different sets. So definitely just trying to widen the skills through different opportunities.
Totally.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jade. You don't need a degree to work in this industry. It's not a requirement like medicine or a lot of other industries. I have a filmmaking degree. I loved uni. It was a great experience. I wouldn't change it for the world. However, you don't need the degree. And if you are very set on, okay, this is definitely the path that I want to go on, maybe it isn't the best option, because you can get essentially a 3-year head start if you're not looking to go down that path. I definitely think traineeships and apprenticeships are the way forward. Shadowing isn't really a thing. When I started to get into the industry, I was warned about free work. You should never work for free. And if companies try and say, oh, well, you're gaining the experience, you have to be very careful. You should never work for free, even if you think it's a great opportunity, because it's not valuable of your time. I think kit houses, as Jade mentioned, is such a great way, especially if you are looking in a technical department like camera and sound. There's a lot of different kit. There's a lot of different cables. There's a lot of different microphones. And working, it wasn't my path personally, but I know a lot of people in the sound department who have done this, working in kit houses, learning how to coil cables properly, learning kit management is really important. When you do go to work on a set, the kit that I use is not my kit. It belongs to the sound mixer, who's my boss. The same with Jade, that it'll be hired in camera kit. You have to take really good care of it. It's very expensive stuff. So if you have the experience beforehand of using it and it's not totally alien, that'll really help you out for sure. Yeah.
And I think genuinely, as both Jade and Eve have said, the really, really wonderful thing about the creative industries is that you don't have to have a specific degree or any qualification to get in. I did an architecture degree, but it was great. I learned so many things. Again, it was communication, time management. When you're on a set, time is of the essence. Things run to the minute. Every second counts because every second has a relation to the budget, which is where everything has to stay within. And it was also about working in groups and all of those things. So all of those skills were completely transferable to my role in the industry. But as a trainee, I started on short films and doing dailies, which is where you can do a couple of days on a set and you can really build your network in that way. But I think reaching out to local organizations, the local funding bodies, and trying to find out if there's also any short films and also trainee programs as well. I started on the Screen Skills Trainee Finder a long time ago, and it was amazing because it really opens the opportunities and gives you also the opportunity potentially to work not just in your local area but actually across the UK as well, which is really, really exciting.
Sorry, I'd quickly just like to add as well, if you were just looking at improving your knowledge, and if you weren't looking at going to uni but you wanted to learn more about the kit that's used in the industry, YouTube is such a great resource. There's so much content on there related to things that we do use in the industry, things that are coming out as we speak. And if you were just wanting to improve your own knowledge about the kit and the tech that is used, the School of YouTube can be very, very useful.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for those kind of tips and tricks and insights into the industry. It's been really lovely learning about this and listening to you all. That is all we have time for today, unfortunately. If any of you would like to share any kind of final thoughts or feelings with our viewers today before we end today's session, and before I kind of formally thank you, please feel free to do so now.
Yeah, I think, I think it's such a great career choice. I genuinely love what I do now. Feel so blessed and happy to be in the position I am and being on all these really cool sets and meeting all these cool people. You just have to remember, if you are thinking of getting into the industry, it's very long hours. You are out of the house all day, every day. In the UK, you are battling the elements a lot of the time, especially if you're on a winter shoot or a night shoot. So if it's just something to remember. If you are, used to, if you like being inside and being behind a laptop, like, that's great. But this is very hands-on, on the floor. You're with people all day, every day. And it can be tough sometimes, but it's really, really rewarding. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's physically tough, but it's mentally rewarding.
Yeah, I think, like, as well, we were talking about skills before, and having technical skills is great. But to be honest, like, the best piece of advice I could probably give is, if you're willing to work hard, like, if you have a great attitude and like have a genuine interest in kind of working in the screens industries and always approaching everything with a smile, no matter what task, like, people will like you and you will get hired again. So yeah, just kind of have fun, enjoy it, and it's a really unique industry and a really fun one to be in.
And I think, just to follow on from what Jade said, it's an industry about looking after each other. And I've been really, really lucky to work with incredible crews, amazing teams, and I have built such a connection. It really is like a work family. It's really, really hard. We do long hours, and even in development, there's a lot of work that goes into bringing something even to that stage of pre-production. So we're always so grateful to step onto the set, to be there and to be working. But it's about looking after each other. I started as a production runner on Millie in Between, and I got my first role as a trainee assistant director because I made the first AD a really, really good cup of tea nearly every day. And it was because I knew how he liked it, and I knew that he had so many other things to do. But it was about looking after him, and he appreciated that. And then he brought me on to his next set as part of his team. And it's about thinking about the people that you're working with and knowing that some teams you might work with, it might not feel like a good fit, but there'll always be an opportunity to move on to another job with another team that you can really build that connection with. And it's about looking after yourself and your team around you, because that will make the whole process even more rewarding and enjoyable, because we are so lucky to get to do what we do. I tell people what I do in the industry that I work in, and they just think it's so cool. And I'm like, it's very cool, but it is not glamorous. It's not glamorous being outside in full wet weather gear, head to toe in mud, completely soaked. But it does mean that you get to see something that you've worked on the big screen, and that's incredibly rewarding.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for all of that and for your time today. I know I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you guys, and I'm sure our students and teachers did too. So Eve, Jade, Claire and Anna, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for today. So again, thank you to our amazing speakers for joining us for that panel interview. And thank you everyone who's tuned in. We really appreciate you joining us today. A feedback poll will have gone live in the Q&A box. So if you have anything to say about today's session, then please do let us know. If you don't have time right now, then don't worry, because another feedback form will be shared with you shortly via email. Our speakers do love to hear any feedback from the session. So if you have a few minutes, please do fill that out. And please be sure to look for future broadcasts on the Speakers for Schools website. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.